This is Twit.
Apparently, Google, according to an interview with John Constine at TechCrunch, Google's going to focus on design at the Google I.O. this year. What is with the big sigh? What is with the big sigh?
Because if you have to announce that you're focusing on design, I love you, Google. You know that I do. But if you have to announce you're going to focus on design,
you're not saying anything critical, but
I hate to be critical. You know, Marco actually did a post on this, and you know, whatever. Marco is Marco. He's very pro Apple and not so generous with the Google. But I gotta say, I think he was kind of spot on here, and I don't know. I might be risking my chance at a Google I/O pass, but it feels. I don't think that you can have a thrust on design one particular cycle of development, right? Like that just has to be embedded in your whole entire process and in the values of the company. And I don't think that Google's there. I think that they're getting there, but I don't know. When I saw that they're gonna focus on design at I/O, part of me thought, oh, that's great, and another part of me thought like design has to be part of every single I/O, every single product. Every bit of development.
And I think design is one of the most overused words right now. I hear it constantly. What it means often to people is, let's get out the Post-it notes. Design thinking.
I hate design thinking.
Yeah.
Right. And design thinking and design, I think, are utterly separate things. One is use and aesthetics, and the other one is listening to people. And listening to people is a good thing, and it's an input. But everybody's gone nuts saying it's all about design, and I think it's being overused now and it comes to mean less. However, somebody who believes in this told me a few weeks ago that IBM is hiring designers like crazy. I think I said this on the show because they think that the technology is going to get easier and easier, but experience is what matters.
You can blame IDEO and David Kelly for all of this.
The Stanford D School.
Yeah. So IDEO kind of. It's hard for me not to be cynical about it. Having run out of people for whom it could design actual things for, it decided that design applies to everything we do in life, and we know how to do it. It's just expanding the market.
Yeah, you're right.
What does that mean?
I have mixed feelings about this. Well, it does look basically IDEO, and I think it's primarily Kelly, but their thinking was. The principles of design should be applied to everything, including how an organization is run, how meetings are run.
How you experience buying a hamburger.
Everything.
Whatever. Everything.
And the example they use, it's a good example, is if you're designing a hospital, you better lie on a gurney and look at the ceiling because that's what your patients are seeing. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad point. But then I've been in these meetings or these sessions where they design thinking, and it's, I don't know, it feels a little cultish, frankly. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, isn't design just a code word for thoughtfulness and empathy?
Yeah. And they've got a methodology. Basically, they have a methodology that they want you to use. And it's good. It's brainstorming and free form and how to then incorporate that into actual planning, and I guess it's okay. I'm allergic to some of that stuff. I'm like a New Yorker in that regard. It's too California.
When it becomes jargony. I mean, I think there's something to it. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work now in engagement and journalism and listening to the community before you think you know what they need. That's the essence of design thinking. It's cultural anthropology. It's watching people. It's discerning their needs. I agree with all that. But you're right. I think really putting it in this marketing shell turns it into a cliche-ridden hype.
Yeah. So Marco writes, the idea that Google needs to attract designers to win against iOS is misguided at best. A software platform's UI and design ethos can't be changed on a whim by conference sessions and a marketing push. It's deeply ingrained, built over the platform's entire lifespan and very slow to change. See, I would disagree with Marco in that respect because the first Android phones were admittedly a nightmare. Fonts were different sizes, icons were weird, and everything felt very cobbled together. But over time, Android has become much more polished, and that's because Google has pushed it there. I think Holo and everything that they've done, they have set a tone and a standard, just as Apple did, by the way, Marco. The reason Apple's got it is because Apple imposed it. from day one with the Macintosh.
I would argue, and I'll get email about this too, but don't bother people, is the single best design in the history of the net was the original Google homepage.
There you go.
Here's a box. The world's behind it.
It was a design that was undesigned. Yeah.
Exactly.
And Marco says the thing that has become a cliched cant. Android's best apps usually aren't as good as iOS's best apps because, and this is the part I disagree with, people who value and demand the best apps overwhelmingly choose iOS. Well, that's really old-fashioned thinking. That's not true anymore.
We're better than you because we have iPhones. That's just so Marco.
Yeah, no, he's wrong about that. But I do think that he's right about design being part of the culture from the beginning. And Android's approach was so different than Apple, right? It was like, put it out, even if it's dirty and broken, and we'll fix it later. Whereas Apple would be like, if it's not ready, it doesn't go out, right? We're not going to put out copy and paste until we have it perfectly right. And you're just going to live without copy and paste,
but the difference there is we're going to define what right is versus Google says the public's going to define what right is.
That's, I think, the fundamental difference. Apple's willing to be totally authoritarian.
Yes, absolutely.
And Google is not. Google says, well, we want choice.
Exactly right.
And we're not willing to lay down the law. We will encourage people to use Holo, but we won't make them use Holo.
And we'll have a methodology of A/B testing, and we listen to signals.
We're data driven.
That's what it is. We're data driven.
Apple says we're Steve driven. We're
right. There lies its strength and now its weakness. There lies the reason for a 7-1 stock split and a buyback and a dividend up.